In a very satisfying headline, CNN is reporting a widespread, quote, feeling of dread among the million-strong federal bureaucracy that Donald Trump will fire them. In case you're curious why they used your tax dollars to try and steal an election. CNN kicks off how the federal workforce is, quote, on edge and bracing for the likelihood its ranks will be purged. We can only hope. In particular, they're terrified Trump will impose an executive order known as Schedule F, which would give him the power to hire and fire tens of thousands of bureaucrats who are in a, quote, policy-determining or policy-advocating position. Estimates range between those tens of thousands up to 50,000, which is a solid start to draining the swamp, particularly given policy-advocating bureaucrats are the mothership of deep state resistance. CNN breathlessly calls it the biggest change since 1883, which is when the modern independent bureaucracy, the deep state, was born. Now, mass firings won't happen on day one for a couple reasons. First, the left and the deep state will deploy lawfare on a mass scale to shield the bureaucrats who feed them grant money so they can riot. Lawfare means it's got to be done very carefully. Second, because Trump doesn't necessarily have to fire all 50,000. The mere threat that he could fire them will concentrate minds among otherwise hostile bureaucrats clutching their gold-plated benefits and pensions. For this, we can look back to one of the greatest presidents in American history, Andrew Jackson. By the way, Trump kept a bust of Jackson right behind him in the Oval Office his first term, so he does pay attention to history. Now, Jackson, like Trump, was a populist up against near-universal opposition among the elite and the federal workforce. Of course, in 1830, it was a much smaller government with roughly 5,000 federal employees, since there was no income tax and no Federal Reserve. Still, they were united in opposition to the populist Jackson. So how did he win them over? Easy. He fired about 1 in 5. The rest fell in line. Now, given Elon Musk wants to cut $1 in $3 from the federal budget in his Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, we may be looking at even better numbers. Meaning even that dreaded Schedule F is merely the first sentence of the first chapter of a wholesale government retreat in the face of the people. Now, going by Trump 1.0, the bureaucrats will fight everything they've got using a raft of civil service privileges imposed over the past century. But the Constitution is very clear. Article 2, Section 1 vests all executive power in one single person, the sitting president. The two main Supreme Court cases that interpret it said he can fire any political appointment, that's Myers 1926, and a 1935 case, Humphrey's executor, saying he can fire anybody in a so-called executive agency, which is nearly 97% of federal workers. Put them together, and the Constitution says whatever pretty laws Congress passes to shield bureaucrats from voters, Trump can fire roughly 2.9 million out of the 3 million federal workers. Beyond the opportunity to use former bureaucrats to pick fruit when illegals go home, a 97% headcount reduction should give Elon lots to work with on his way to cutting $2 trillion in spending. So what's next? Brought to you by Unchained.com. In many ways, Trump 1.0 got played by the deep state, but their sheer savagery these past 4 years has opened his eyes. Millions of deep state minions are now right to feel a deep sense of dread as they dust off the resume and consider what useful things they might do in life. Read the rest with charts and all the gory details at profsatange.com. Okay, we'll be watching. See you next time.